Hey guys, I'm Zach the Movie Fan. Today, I don't usually talk about movies that come out recently, and a lot of that is because there really isn't anything, there isn't a lot that's out right now that is very interesting or I'm legit interested in seeing. But, but, but because later on today I have to watch Resident Evil Extinction, I figure why not talk about an actual good movie that has come out recently. Let's talk about the new Superman film, or James Gunn's Superman as I call it. This movie definitely has been interesting for a while now. And now that the movie's finally out, I noticed that there's a lot of differing opinions. Critics seem to be really liking it, but if you look up reviews on YouTube, they're kinda all over the place. That's why I decided to make a video on it, to really throw my hat into the ring, no pun intended, and really see my personal thoughts. So, let's get this out of the way right now. Did I like James Gunn's Superman? Absolutely. I really like this movie a lot. I'm honestly completely baffled by a lot of the negative reception the film is receiving online. At least on YouTube. But when I stop and thought about it, I kinda understand it. And because of that, I want to get this out of the way right now. If you are a huge fan of Man of Steel or any of the DC movies that Zack Snyder made, if you really love Zack Snyder's take on the Superman character, you're gonna hate this movie. And if you're not gonna hate it, then you're probably not gonna like this direction. This was definitely a movie that was made more for the people that didn't care for Man of Steel or wanted to go back to a more lighthearted Superman story. And I am in that crowd. Yeah, I'm sorry, Snyder fans, but I do not like Man of Steel. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I just did not care for it. If you guys want to know the reasons why, let me know down in the comments below. And sometime in the future, I might do a video on Man of Steel. But yeah, so I was optimistic about this new Superman film that James Gunn was working on, but also a bit cautious. James Gunn, not because James Gunn said some stupid shit online or whatever bullshit people online are coming up with. My worry was mostly because this was a very different story compared to everything else James Gunn had worked on. Hang on. I'm just getting a drink of water. Okay. James Gunn, who, if you don't know, he directed the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and also directed the Suicide Squad, and created the Peacemaker show. Now, James Gunn before this worked on mostly unknown superhero characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy or Polka Dot Man. You get the idea. So for him to jump from that to something like Superman, I was a bit worried that he wouldn't be able to pull it off. But thankfully, at least for me, I apparently had nothing to fear, because James Gunn did a phenomenal job here. But I should state though, like, I want to keep in mind that this is from someone who didn't like Man of Steel and doesn't like the DC movies that Zack Snyder has made. So keep that in the back of your mind, that this is just my opinion, and if you disagree, that's totally fine. That being said, I have a lot of things I really like about the film, so let's talk about the few things that I didn't like. I will admit, the movie does have a little bit too much going on. There are a lot of different plot threads in this movie. At least it will feel like that. It really does feel like a lot is going on all at once. Hell, I'm not gonna lie, the way the movie opened up had me a bit worried. Not to give too much away, but the movie opens up by giving us a very quick exposition done entirely in text as to Superman and everything. Everything going on in this new DC universe. It felt a bit jarring. But on one hand, though, I understand why James Gunn did this. He's kind of doing the Spider-Man Homecoming approach, where we've already seen Superman's backstory done multiple times, that if we slow the movie down to do to redo the backstory of Superman again, audiences would get sick of it. It's kind of similar to how audiences are getting sick of seeing the death of Bruce Wayne's parents, because it's been done to death so much that it's borderline comedy now. So I do get why James Gunn did this. I will admit though, he could have at least I think he could have at least explained the way this universe works at least a little bit better. But honestly, that's really all the issues I have, I think, anyway. Everything else in this movie, I really enjoyed a lot. Okay, so, let's get down into it. The acting in this film is really good. The actor who plays Superman, David Cornsweet, I think his name is. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. He is phenomenal in this film. He pretty much is Superman in this film. He's righteous, courageous, a perfect Boy Scout, and goes out of his way to protect others. Not to give too much away, but there's a scene where a giant monster shows up in Metropolis, and Superman spends most of that scene while fighting the monster, also going out of his way to protect people. I mean, it's a bit cartoonish and silly, but I had a huge smile on my face because that's what I like about Superman. That's really the kind of person Superman is supposed to be, going out of his way to protect innocent lives, especially when there's a giant monster attacking. The actress playing Lois, I can't remember her name right now, unfortunately. She's also really good. I appreciate that she's not a damsel in distress and doesn't get saved at all. I really liked that a lot. And I appreciate how helpful she is. Even though she doesn't have superpowers, she really goes out of her way to help others. On top of that, the chemistry between Superman and Lois is really damn good. Fine. Then we have Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and he pretty much steals the show in this movie. This actor goes full force in this film. This guy depicts Lex as a goddamn psychopath. but in a way that fits the character and not cringy and stupid like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor from Batman v Superman. Lex is absolutely obsessed with killing Superman in this film to a ridiculous degree. The lengths that this man goes just to kill this guy is crazy. And Nicholas Hoult is having a frickin' ball with it. And what's so great is that despite how over the top he can still be really damn intimidating and menacing. This has got to be the most craziest Lex Luthor I think I've seen. And that's saying a lot considering that Kevin Spacey played this character at one point. But yeah, and then you have the side characters, in particular the Justice Squad. Yes, they're literally called that. Guy Gardner, who's one of the Green Lanterns, played by Nathan Fillion, Hawkgirl, played by Isabella Marced, and Mr. Terrific. I will admit, one thing that I was worried about was that, again, because of James Gunn's prior comic book movies, I thought he was going to put more focus on the Justice Squad than Superman. Thankfully, they don't. They do help in the film, but they don't take up the entire movie. Superman does get main focus in terms of the story. And all three actors do a phenomenal job. Nathan Fillion is clearly having a ton of fun as Guy. Isabella Marced is surprisingly badass and intimidating as Hawkgirl. She does like this Xena warrior princess kind of battle cry screech when she like flies at people, and it's both equally awesome and terrifying. And then you have Mr. Terrific. This is the only superhero I'm not familiar with at all in DC, but goddamn, I easily want to see a movie about this guy after this, because he kicks ass in this. He's like this techno wizard with like these badass drones that can create shields and stuff. There's this really cool fight scene with him, and it was just so cool. But yeah. The action in the film is badass. And a lot of that is thanks to the cinematography. The way this movie is shot is really cool. James Gunn kind of takes an Amazing Spider-Man approach to the cinematography, where whenever Superman is flying around, the camera is done in a way where you really feel like you're flying alongside him. Very similar to what Mark Webb did with the web swinging scenes in the Amazing Spider-Man films. And much like that, it is a really cool idea to do, especially for a character like Superman. On top of that, the sound design is also really good. Although maybe that's because of the theater I saw it in. I saw this at an AMC theater. And maybe that's why the sound design really stuck out to me. But yeah, every punch and every beatdown in the film, you feel how painful it is. And some of the fight choreography can get surprisingly brutal. It's not like Deadpool and Wolverine levels, but still some of the action is a little bit more brutal than I was expecting. There's this one moment where like Superman gets like his shoulder dislocated, and I was like, yep, okay, I felt that one. Oh shit. But yeah, I have been following some reviews of this movie, at least online, on YouTube in particular, and some criticisms. And one criticism one guy made was he personally feels that Superman is way too weak and gets his ass handed to him too much. But that's kind of the idea. There's nothing wrong with making Superman a bit weaker than his comic book counterpart. For starters, the movie establishes that this Superman has been saving lives for about 3 years or so. And he's not as experienced as other. He's not very experienced. And the movie straight up establishes that this is the first time that he had been beaten in a fight. So it kind of takes the Robert Pattinson Batman approach, showing a younger, more inexperienced version of the character. There's nothing wrong with nerfing Superman's abilities a bit, so that when he gets hurt and injured, you feel how painful it is. I mean, if you're gonna complain about this movie nerfing Superman, where are the complaints against the Superman animated series? Because that show pretty much did the same thing. Although, if I'm wrong on that, feel free to correct me. I am ashamed to admit that I have not watched every episode of the Superman animated series, but at least from my knowledge, that show did nerf Superman a bit. But yeah, and Superman still does kick some ass in fights, and even when he gets defeated, it's understandable. But yeah. And there was also some people complaining about what they did with Crypto. James Gunn said behind the scenes that he based Crypto off of his own dog. A little shit that constantly makes a mess, but you can't help but love the hell out of him. I can understand why some people didn't like this change, but honestly, it doesn't really bother me. It's an adaptation. Shit is allowed to be changed as long as it stays true to the character. And honestly, I love Crypto in this movie. I love how much of a troublemaker he is. I love how much he just breaks shit. I don't know, every scene with him really cracked me up. But yeah. What else? This was another thing that I've noticed some people were really bugged by. A lot of people really... Actually, no. Sorry, I should save that for the spoiler section. I apologize. But yeah, as for, like, the other villains in the film, the Engineer and Ultraman, they're pretty decent villains. The Engineer in particular is pretty badass. Seeing, like, how she can morph her body into blades and shit is pretty damn cool. And she can be pretty damn intimidating. Ultraman is really just a silent idiot that just punches shit, but he's fine as villains go. And when they do reveal Ultraman's backstory, it makes sense. The one thing I just love the most about this movie, though, is really just how much fun it is. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, one of the biggest reasons why I did not care for Man of Steel was its tone. I just didn't like the dark, depressing tone that Man of Steel had, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, you can do a dark Superman story. I've seen it done. Just look at the Death of Superman comic, or Superman versus the Elite, where those stories can get pretty dark. The big difference, though, between those stories and Man of Steel is Superman. In Death of Superman and Superman versus the Elite, they're dark stories, but Superman remains the good guy of the whole thing. He doesn't let the event He doesn't let the events of everything around him change his perspective and morality. Despite that was the whole point behind Superman versus the elites. It was to show it was really to show that there's nothing wrong with truth, justice, and the American way. It was to show that not killing criminals and being more focused on saving lives is a good, worthy cause. Whereas the elite just think killing criminals just makes the world better, but if anything, it just spreads a bad message to humanity. And I'm so happy. But in Man of Steel, Superman is just as bummed out as everyone else, and it just makes the film all the more depressing. But James Gunn's Superman goes for a more lighthearted tone, and while yes, it's a bit goofy, yes, it is a bit cartoonish even, that's what I like about Superman. I mean, if I want a dark comic book story, I'll pick up a Batman comic, or a Punisher comic, or Spawn. But this is Superman. This is not Batman. Superman should be lighthearted. It should be a bit campy. It should be a bit goofy. It should be fun. Like, that's just what Superman is supposed to be, in my opinion. And this movie nails that. And it's part of why I had so much fun with it. It just embraces the fact that it's a comic book film. And I love that. I'm not gonna act like this movie's a masterpiece, but in my honest opinion, I love the shit out of it. It was exactly what I wanted from a new Superman film. Lighthearted, goofy, silly, but also a ton of fun. If this is the start to the new DC cinematic universe, then I'm all in. If they're of the same quality and the same understanding of the characters as this film, then I fully trust James with whatever plans he has. I'm going to give James Gunn's Superman an A+. If you have not... However, like I said, if you really like the lighthearted, campy Superman, like me, then you're probably going to love this. But if you're one of those people that more prefers Zack Snyder's portrayal, then you will probably not like this movie. And that's totally fine. Enjoy what you enjoy. You know what I mean? All I ask is that you just respect other people's opinions and don't constantly attack them online. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to get into some spoiler territory. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, stop the video right here. Okay. Let's begin. Alright. So what I was going to say is that another thing that a lot of people took issue with this movie was the revelation as to why Superman's parents sent him to Earth. This movie changes the backstory a bit, where it's revealed that Superman's parents sent him to Earth to condition them and enslave them and even build a harem. Yes, that is an actual line. Yes, that is an actual line in this movie. A lot of people took issue with this, saying it completely butchers Superman's biological parents. But to be perfectly honest, it didn't bother me. For starters, you can make the argument that this idea had already been done in the new show My Adventures with Superman, which is a really good show, by the way. I highly recommend it. Side note, I really need to get to season 2. Anyway, I don't really mind the idea that much. If anything, I think it creates a very strong message for the film. Let's be real here. While yes, Jor-El and Clark's mom Well, yes, they did give birth to him, and yes, they did send him to Earth to save his life. But Martha and John Kent are Superman's real parents. They took him in, they raised him, and they filled him with the ideals that made him the Man of Steel today. As far as I'm concerned, John and Martha Kent are Superman's real parents. They have been there from the beginning, and they have always raised him. And this revelation puts more focus on that. Like Clark does realize that the parents that sent him away to Earth, he never really knew them that well, and that last part of the message they left him shows that. And he realizes just how much Martha and John really mean to him, how much they were really there for him and raised him. I love how the film ends. When Superman is healing under yellow sunlight, the Superman robots in the Fortress of Solitude play the message that Superman's biological parents sent him to soothe him and help him relax. But at the end of the film, due to the revelations about his biological parents, instead the robots put on old home videos of Martha and John raising him. I loved that scene. I thought it was a really cute, really tender moment. And I related to Clark in a way. I mentioned in a previous video, I believe for Silent Hill: The Short Message, that my dad had took his own life when it was in my first year of middle school. And it really did, it really shook me. It was a really dark time in my life. Sorry. But I found out sometime after he passed away, when I was old enough, that my dad was not a very good person, and he did do bad things. Like, it kind of stunned to find out that my dad just wasn't that great a guy, and I still to this day don't know what to do with that information. I still love him and I still miss him, but I will never say that he was a good person. So, yeah, that whole plot point, I related to Clark a lot in that regard. But yeah, what else? There is one other scene that I really enjoyed, towards the end of the film, where Superman confronts Lex, and Lex calls him nothing but a dangerous alien or something akin to that. And Superman says, "No, Lex, you're wrong. I'm actually the most human person ever." And I really liked that scene. I wish I could remember the whole speech off the top of my head. I really wish I could. I loved that scene so much. One other thing I forgot to mention is that the soundtrack is really good. Yes, there are some pop songs and popular music in the film. I mean, it's a James Gunn film, you expect it. But I do appreciate that he doesn't rely too much on it, or doesn't use it as much as his other films. He mostly focuses on an orchestration, very epic sounding score that is obviously very much inspired by John Williams' Superman theme. But you gotta say, hearing that theme again in a big budget Superman film was really awesome, and it sounded great. Yeah, I just really loved this movie a lot. Like, the film was such a rush, too. Like, holy shit, so much happens in the climax that after it was all over, I felt like I needed to take a nap. Like, it was such a rush. Like, the fight scenes in this movie alone are worth watching it on its own. But yeah, I really enjoyed James Gunn's Superman. I really recommend you guys go see it. A plus all around the boards. This was a fantastic film, and I really look forward to where James Gunn takes this new cinematic universe. With that said, what are your guys' thoughts on James Gunn's Superman? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you in between? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like what you see here, like, comment, and subscribe. And take care.